everyone. Hi, hello, welcome. It's time for Gathering the Roll, of course. Hello, everyone in chat who's joining me today, of course. It is November 7th, 2017. I don't know, I like the headphones on. I don't actually need the headphones on, but I like them on when I'm at the computer. I don't know. Don't complain about it. Whatever. Anyway, welcome. So those of you who are checking out my Twitch channel, yes, you can see that I've integrated a few things to Twitch. The event bar down at the bottom. We've got the cup up at the top. Those of you that are actually currently watching in Twitch, thank you very much. Ooh, and that actually appears up on there. So above you, for people who are, for those of you that are on the YouTube side, you can see the Twitch chat up there. So if you want to know what Twitch chat is going on, right up there. It's going to be tiny in words, but if there's an important thing going in Twitch chat, I wanted it to be on there, sort of. It's not staying around. I don't know, whatever. I'll have to work on that one. Anyway, but welcome to Gathering the Roll, a tabletop news program where we discuss the news of tabletop releases this week. Of course, we go over everything. We have a number of segments that we'll be going through, talking about all the various different things that are being released this week, or have been released over the past week, and a couple of upcoming things. So why don't we start, of course, with our CCG Binder, our collectible card game binder to start out with. And let's just drop the news in. Well, bam! So, of course, we're going to start with some Magic the Gathering. Okay, so that's impossible to read even on that one. Let me work on the chat news then. Let me position it. It doesn't stick around, which I don't like, but I'll position it down here so it fades in the comments under me. Sure, we'll try that. We'll see if that works. Okay, cool. Anyway, so Magic the Gathering news we'll start out with in our CCG Binder. Of course, there's only a bunch of tournaments coming on up this upcoming weekend, a couple which you can still participate in. The 3 Grand Prix, they're all standard. So if you play standard, you can get some standard games in. There is one in, of course, Atlanta, Georgia, that's coming on. So that one you can still register for. There is one in Warsaw, Poland. So if you happen to be in Poland or close enough to there, go ahead. And of course, there's one in Shanghai, China. So there's a little couple across the world. Grand Prix for Magic. Most of the registry is around $70 or so US. You can play, maybe get some rewards, maybe get some other things. Get the special cards that come along with it. But the Grand Prix will be up, of course, as I said, if you wanted to participate in them. But also is the regional Pro Tour qualifiers. Now, this is one that, unfortunately, you have to be an invited player to join in. But it is a modern constructed gaming events which will be taking place. And it's an invitation only. But those of you that do, if you want to watch it, you will be able to see it up on Magic's Twitch channel, so you can see it. So not all players can compete in it, and it is you'll qualify for the Pro Tour Rivals of Ixalan by going in this. And the promo card for it is an Emrakul, the Aeon's Torn, so one of the latest Emrakuls. Very nice art for it. There are some basic prizes, just boosters right now for participating in this one, if you do get invited. But let's move on. We have some other CCG news. Hey, look at that. It's Pokemon. Pokemon the trading card game. The newest expansion is out for the Sun and Moon series, Crimson Invasion. So if you are a fan of the Pokemon trading card game, it's 110 cards, 8 new GX Pokemon, 9 trader cards, special energy cards, and Ultra Beasts from the Sun and Moon game are making their debut. At least it includes a couple of them. And it's all about, like, Ultra Beasts invading the Aloha region. So you can, of course, check this out now if you are a fan of the Pokemon trading card game and you want to get a new set. Let's move on, though, to our last one for today. We do have the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game. Actually has a release also. I do agree that the Pokemon card game has been more interesting with Sun and Moon. But it's a structure deck. So it is a pre-made deck. It is 43 cards. It's a Cyberverse Link. So this is basically showing off some of the newer stuff, newest monsters, newest abilities, link summoning. So if you're into the current group of Yu-Gi-Oh, this is going to be a really good one for you to check out. If you're interested in seeing about it, checking it out, you know, having some fun with it, and you are, again, mastering some of the new Yu-Gi-Oh's stuff, it's good for you. Well, that's our CCG Binder for today. Let's move on to our RPG bookshelf and see what's on the bookshelf for today. Of course, we have some Pathfinder that's out. So first one is Pathfinder, the Iron Fang Invasion Adventure Path. It's Pawn Box. So pawn boxes are little like figures that have stands you can get for Pathfinder that they've been releasing lately, and you get the big pawn box, but they've been doing them each for the Adventure Pass as they come out after all of them are done. So in this one, of course, we have the one for the Iron Fang Invasion, which was the last Adventure Path that just came out. Is that popping up? It is pop up. There it is. If people cannot read that on the bottom, just let me know if that's readable. Let me stretch that out a little bit more. Maybe that's readable now for folks for the chat under my head. But it's on like a nice sturdy card stock. It's got all kinds of creatures that you're going to encounter in the Iron Fang Invasion. Unique creatures that you might not have gotten for the Bestiary pack. And it works along well with the Bestiary packs, the NPC Codex boxes, very well to give you the ability to bring these adventures to life in like pretty much tabletop miniatures form if you need to. And these are fairly what's the word for it? Cost effectively, in case it's got cool artwork on it, the artwork of the creatures and stuff, and it doesn't have the huge cost that a lot of other miniatures might have. So it is an advantage. It's $25. If you are going to play through the entire Iron Fang Invasion, might be something that you can consider getting. Let's move on, of course, though, because the next in the adventure path, Ruins of Aslant, has come out. This is going to be for your 10th level characters, so we are leveling up a lot for only the 4th adventure. And City of the Deep, you get information about a merfolk city beneath the waves, outside of your city on this continent you've settled. And these merfolk believe that there's kind of like a sea monster there that will block their path. And really, it's all about this ruse that the villain of the campaign is basically uncovering a secret laboratory of military information from an ancient civilization. And so getting to that underwater city unraveling its merfolk, dealing with the merfolk's plot, and discovering where their enemy is headed is all about what this path is, this adventure is going to be. So it's got some extra monsters, it's got some information on the underwater city, which is populated by aquatic elves, merfolk, and other aquatic humanoids, and some ecology of merfolk itself, just to add to your entire Pathfinder games. Now, we do have a couple Pathfinder Society scenarios. Sorry those are so small, these images are really hard to find, that I can just show you. These always show up small, if you haven't seen my my shot gathering the rolls I used to do. Anyway, so this is Pathfinder Society scenario, The Shores of Heaven, for levels 1 to 5, and it's all about this character, Valis, who was tormented by a former teacher of hers who infused 2 demons into her. One of the demons got killed, the other one didn't. And so the other demon has been trying to wrest control of her body now, and she's managed to hold it off, but the Pathfinder Society, because she is a member of it, wishes to help her out to regain her original form, and so your characters are going to be escorting her to the libraries of heaven to hopefully have a powerful healing ritual to purge her of the darkness which is in her soul. And it's an ongoing storyline of the Silver Crusade faction. So if you are already doing those, or you just want to try this out, it's an interesting adventure, levels 1 to 5 it's designed for. And we also have the Salvation of the Sages. This is designed for levels 7 to 11. So, in this one here, Millennia, an order of sages, scholars known as Jewel Sages, catalog wisdom and lore of the Northern Ground's greatest minds, things about crystalline artifacts. They have recently resurfaced some of these sage jewels that they talk about. And the new generation of sages wishes to discover more about them. And they're asking the Pathfinder Society to basically help hunt these down, maybe purge any ancient evils related to them, take care of some problems. So it's a kind of small storyline. The Scarab Sages faction, though, if you are doing a storyline based on that. Let's move on, though, because we do have more role-playing game news with Starfinder. Yes, which is basically Pathfinder in space. I will not deny that that's what it is. So in the Starfinder, we have a Starfinder scenario, the first mandate. So it's levels 1 to 4. And, you know, Starfinders, the new generation, has their own deeds they want to seek. And a low-level one, a first seeker, is basically announcing the next initiative that will define her own tenure in the Starfinder Society. And the PCs are gathering at one of the complexes, socializing, and it's going to follow the Scourge Star incident, which did occur in the Pathfinder Society, Starfinder Society storylines, if you do follow those. Otherwise, you can just assume those have occurred. And it's sort of a public event kind of thing. It's kind of it's ongoing goals on the storylines of the Society scenario, the Starfinder Society scenarios. So if you are continuing with this current first storyline, that's why this would be a good one to do if you're playing through all the Pathfinder Society or Starfinder Society scenarios. Also out is, though, hey, guess what? The Alien Archive pawn box. Just like I was talking about the pawn boxes, Alien Archive is Starfinder's version of a bestiary. And, of course, now you want to have those in pawn forms, just like you did in Pathfinder. 300 creature pawns for use in Starfinder. Or really, they could be used in any tabletop sci-fi fantasy, because there are a lot of different interesting creatures. So as long as you're doing some science fantasy, you could use these in those. It's just that if you're particularly using these for Starfinder, they will match exactly what you look. But they each have their own little images, appearances. You can see a couple little pawns there down in the bottom to give a representation of what these look like. They're pretty decent. They have all the full art. They're pretty nice. Now this is $45, so it is a little more expensive, but it's got 300 pawns in it. So that's a pretty good amount of pawns for you. If you are playing some Starfinder and will be using battle boards, this might be what you want to look into getting. Let's move on from Starfinder, though, to Dungeon Fantasy. We talked about the Dungeon Fantasy Companion that came out a week or two ago. And this week, though, we have the Dungeon Fantasy, the Big Box. So this is, of course, all about Dungeon Fantasy role-playing games, which is done by Steam Jackson. It uses the GURPS system. It basically streamlines a lot of what's in GURPS into specifically fantasy adventures. So it's taking a GURPS system, streamlining some things directly into fantasy. So it's rather than just playing GURPS fantasy, it's its own thing to a degree. There's 11 classic professions and 9 races to choose from, a number of quick start templates, using the GURPS point build system. With a lot of customization on your gear when it comes to armor and weapons, and 400 spells, plus 80 monsters. This big box here, which is $60, contains 5 books, 2 large double-sided Macs, cardboard figures, and 6-sided dice. For your Dungeon Fantasy role-playing games, because it is out now, and you can, of course, check it out. Alright, let's move on, though. We do have this one here. What is this? This is Conan. Modifius is actually releasing a conversion guide from the 2004 D20 Conan game. So back in 2004, a D20 version of Conan, the role-playing game, was released. Modifius has released a 2D20 Conan system as of late. And because a couple of people that are worked on the original one were working on their Conan, they decided to put out a conversion guide. So it's a free conversion guide, may I note for you. So if you did like and played the old Conan RPG but want to try out this new one, you can convert stuff easily using this conversion guide to the 2D20 system now. So it'll allow you to keep some of those early source books that people put a lot of time and effort into and use them in this one, in their expanded universe that they're building now, that Modifius has been putting out material for it. So if you're a big fan of Conan the Barbarian, and you want to check out this newest version, go ahead, check it out. And definitely check out this conversion guide. So now available, though, is a new RPG, Anchor, Kingdom of the Gods. So this is a science fantasy RPG. Easiest way to describe it. And the basic storyline is it's a 332-page core book has been released. It has 5 unique player character species, 7 character casts, a game master section, and a bestiary all in this big book. And plus is describing the world of Anchor, which is taking place kind of with some influence from various science fiction, science fantasy writers. It's taking place on Earth right after the Great Flood, about 25,000 years ago. It has a species of alien beings called the Nibiru coming to our system to get gold, genetic manipulating a number of humans to be slaves in there, and it's a series of cataclysm, power struggles set in the motion of what is the destinies of both these alien masters and slaves. And it's a world that seems to bend physics, metaphysics together. There's also magic there. They basically were using that gold for mana, you know, magic. And there's forgotten ruins, ancient alien technologies buried thanks to the Great Flood, because apparently there was aliens there, strange, monstrous prehistoric remnants that were not swept away by that. So it's kind of this weird combination of a sort of prehistory sci-fi fantasy plus sci-fi. So you have the prehistoric monsters, flying saucers, sword and sorcery all combined in Anchor, Kingdom of the Gods. It's a very interesting take on a lot of genres thrown together. And the artwork's pretty cool there, that little like promotional art they put out there of the kind of barbarian with a ray gun. So that's a pretty cool one. Alright. Sorry, let me just get a drink here if I'm coughing before we move on to the next one. Excellent. So, this game will be coming out in full next year, the Sea of the Stars role-playing game system. But in order to hype things up, the producing company, Toy Rocket, has released a primer that you can get now. So this primer basically introduces you to everything you need to know. It's talking about pirates, smugglers, mercs, and politicians. 7 races, major military conflicts, lots of different things, a third of the galaxy, 13 million cubic light years of space. The Galactic Republic of Civilizations is trying to keep everything of this in line. And of course, not so easy. So this is introducing you to that world, some of the core mechanics to it, very light information that'll help you get an idea if you are interested in the Sea of Stars game when it does come out, which is all about that piece is sort of there, but there's always conflict, and you're set in this galactic civilization that takes a third of the galaxy. And it's your putting yourself into that world. Are you pirate? Are you smuggler? Are you mercenary? Are you politician? All can take these roles in this interesting setting about what's going on. And they have an identity generation system and a sprawling setting. So they have some unique systems that they're putting in for you to test out. You can get it for a $5 if you're just getting the watermarked PDF on Drive-Thru RPG right now, if you want to try out the light version of this and see if you're interested in it. And of course, as I said, next year they're planning to release the full version when it is available, of course. Alright, so Mindjammer has a couple releases. We talked about some Mindjammer last week, but guess what? We have a couple new releases that also came out. First up, Core World Sourcebook. So this is where it happens. This is the seat of technology. This is a lot of the many worlds of Manhome, an ancient solar system. It's the cradle of humanity in this spacefaring world. There's thousands of worlds in the old Commonwealth, but this is like kind of the center of it. We're focusing on the Core World Sourcebook. It's got a history and background of this core, lavish maps, new genotypes, strange structures. It details Manhome, including maps and descriptions of Old Earth, Old Mars, Green Moon, and more. So yes, how the Old Earth works. Fargate Network and Mysterious 3 Space Instrumentality, descriptions and arts of various secret rulers of the Core Worlds, and guides to the Core World campaigns, and what it means to go beyond being human within the Core World system. So if you're playing Mindjammer, this might be a great one to check out. But there is a second Mindjammer companion we're going to talk about, the actual Mindjammer companion. There's a name for you. So this is all about a little bit human history. It's the turbulent worlds of the Outrimmer subsector, an outlier of the Common Hour frontier. So it's the heart of the Rim sector. violent feuding politicians, no man lands, and it's the area between the commonality and the Venue Empire, which we talked about. And this is aftermath of war, so, you know, everything's up for grabs. There's successor states rising and falling, new xenomorph sentient alliance flexing its muscles, and both the commonality and the interior and the Venue positioning for power in this area, and you're set in between it. So it's got 5 new commonality starship designs, some new cultures and genotypes, a map of the heritage, constant and planetary maps for basically 30 plus, about 30 adventure pack worlds you can use in your Mindjammer systems. So again, both of these, because they're Mindjammer, use the Fate core system, adapting it to their own needs. And the PDF version available now. The print version will be available on the 23rd for this one. Similarly, the print version will be available for the Core World Sourcebook also on the 23rd. So you're going to have to wait a little while if you want the printed version. But if you want the PDF, you can get it now. Alright, so unfortunately we didn't have any card games for the card game desk, or some board games for the board game pile, or some party games for the party game closet. So we're going to dive right into the Kickstart display, because we do have a number of Kickstarter games that I want to talk about today that are ongoing now. Let's of course start with this one, Be Horror. So this one is of course about a 7th away funded, 10 days to go, so it's on its way. It's basically a role-playing game system all about being a horror game, where dying is actually part of your strategy. It's all about those, like, basic horror games. You take on the roles of various ones, where you have certain behaviors you want to do, and the object of the game is to get script points. And these script points could be earned by your character dying. For example, maybe you getting chopped up or eaten alive by a monster would earn you certain script points. A character might have earned script points by dying by vice. And the various opponents and creatures that you're going to fight, from monsters to slashers, will have a certain number of script points that you're going to have to use in order to eventually defeat it. So your character's dying might be a way to actually defeat this. Yes, it's a lot like Betrayal on House on the Hill, except I don't know if anybody betraying you will actually occur on this one to do it. It might be part of one of the storylines. So, like, if you're the jock, you might want to be a jerk to everybody. If you're the cheerleader, you might want to kind of be a little bit, like, slut your way to death, they say. And earning these script points, you'll be awarded them by your storyteller. And using them, of course, you can move the story forward, level up, increase dice rolls, and you have to deal with monsters and slashers along the way. And, of course, yes, you dying might be part of it. So it's an interesting one you might want to check out. Again, they're only a little way towards their funding, but it might be a cool one to actually look into. Now, here's a little fan favorite that we talked about in a preview guide that had come out, but the actual Kickstarter is up now. Dragons Conquer America. So yes, we talked about this previously both on here and on Discussing Tabletop, because they had a free preview of what they're come. So Dragons Conquer America, though, is out now. So this is all about dragons, feathered servants, magic, and epic battles in South America. It's set in an alternate world history where George, instead of killing the dragon in the traditional storyline, conquered it, basically captured it, and converted it to Christianity. So now dragons are run basically under the control of Christianity. Now, an interesting fact about them is only women can fly dragons, so dragon riders are now a thing. So we enter basically the Spanish conquering the South America, where dragons and magic exist, and there is this also kind of interesting tone with kind of this Christianity exists as part of it. But then we also have the Mesoamericans and their feathered serpents and everything that's going on there. So it is definitely a very interesting way of looking at it. It doesn't shy of the fact that, you know, terrible things were going on during this time period with the Spanish in South America. It, in fact, kind of shows it off in this interesting setting, that your characters are going to be skirting around a lot of that. Your characters might be Spanish, they might be Mesoamerican, or they could have been born from both of them, or some kind of combination in between. So, it is getting close to being about a third funded. It's 23 days to go. As I said, I checked out the free preview book, and it was awesome. And so I could definitely recommend checking out this one. It has some really great art. It's a very interesting concept for a role-playing game system, and you do get some interesting rewards. So, Dragons Conquer America, it's finally out, and I could definitely... this is one that I think I can throw a recommendation towards out of all of them, that you should at least check out and see if you're interested in it. And the free download might be still available from Drive-Thru RPG if you're interested in checking it out there. But we do have a lot more role-playing games, because there's a lot of role-playing games up on Kickstarter this week. So we have the Chapel and the Clips and horror module for Pathfinder. Yep, it's a pretty simple one. So it's for 4th to 5th level. It's a group of 4 to 5 characters, level 3. It's exploring the ruined vision of Kenmouth and its surroundings, and finding out why an army of skeletons is rising every night from the graves to drive out intruders. And you're trying to search for a way to lift this curse. It's a 10 hours of gameplay, 35 pages of quality conflict. They're going to have beautiful illustrated maps, new monsters, magic items, new rules to deal with chases and sieges involving dungeons of saddling skeletons. So it's about halfway towards its funding. It only wanted 870. It's about at 400. 23 days to go. So, I mean, it's a little one for about $5. You get a PDF of the book. So that might be one that if you want to have this adventure for about $5 or for francs, because it's French. It's a French one. You can check it out now. It's a small adventure. It seems interesting. Add some interesting rules. It's got some very nice artwork here. Very similar to this here. So yeah, definitely. And they will be they do have a softcover book that you could get if you really want one. That you would have to pledge a little bit more, but definitely available. So, sorry, the Chapel on the Cliffs is out now, and it's up now on Kickstarter, is what I mean. Of course, this one here. This is Praxis Black Monks RPG. Let me just take another drink. Alright. It's a series of 5 games set in a strange fantasy world, the Black Monk series, where time means nothing anymore. Each game is a unique part of the desolate world, strange characters passing time until the Black Monk visits. Between these visits, the characters' lives are interrupted by some things trivial, confusing things, time-confusing events, and everything is like a jigsaw puzzle. But there's no complaints. They always more work. The village needs more workers. Then one evening, the sun stayed in the sky all day, where it should have been night, and the sun remains, and it's been years since the Black Monk came. But perhaps it was yesterday, because time is always messed up. So the first game was written a year ago, is available online, and this one is for part of the ongoing series, of course. So this is Sunrise End. The character's life is in a desolate place. You're in a really terrible area. It's not really a great place to live. And there, as I said, there are a bunch of different ones that are kind of combined together. You can get all the Black Monk books. You can get all of the PDFs. You can get... This is for... You can get, of course, just book 2, book 1, book 3, book 4, all the PDFs, 2 to 5, because the first one is out. The first one is out now, but this is really for the rest of the ones as release. Now, they're funded. They wanted 1,000. They have hit 9,000. They have 10 days to go. So, this is one that you could definitely choose which ones you expect to get. They have a special kind of character sheets that's just got some basic information. It's a lot based on storytelling kind of thing. It's a 96-page long with books and information. And they've hit most of their stretch goals up until now. The 9,000 ones, they've hit. There's a 10,000 ones where they create an Ominous with all 6 games in one book. And backers would have an option of getting a hardcover version of that once Kickstarter concludes. So that might be an option that you get. And they're only like $400 away from that. So that's a pretty good backer goal. So if you're interested in checking out the Praxis the Black Month, this is on Kickstarter now. Okay, the Operators RPG. So this is Mission Impossible Heights, Tom Clancy techno thrillers, you know, Bourne-style kinetic fights. It's an action RPG that is being released now. So it's got 22 days to go. It's at 4,000 of 6,000. So it's about 2/3 of the way out now, and it's got some kind of futuristic hijinks. It's bringing in a lot of the kind of, as I said, like Mission Impossible, Tom Clancy storyline kind of things. And it uses some of the core mechanic revolves rolling 4 fate dice. So it does use some of the fate mechanics. Players look for pulses in order to succeed. The game master looks for minuses, or I'm sorry, pluses, minuses, as a mean to task to overcome complicated situation. Your characters are playing on the roles of basically operators in this world. You have a deck of cards to help narrate fight scenes that you can kind of use special kind of cards to do different kind of fights and punches as part of it. And they have a free quick start system and all the mechanics that you can check out on a link from their Kickstarter right now, and some aids for game masters. So yes, there's the book, there's the cards, some additional information, and they're kickstarting it not only to get some information out there, but to have you like check it out. And some of the the stretch goals, the first one they have is more fighting cards. So you have a couple more different maneuvers your operators, or your, if you want to call them spies, can do to smack into people and take them out. All right. We do have a couple more. Oh, we have a bunch more here. Kickstarts a lot this week. We have Seven Worlds. It's supposed to be a realistic science fiction for the Savage World system. It's an epic campaign with 2D, 3D star maps for more platformers and more. They are funded. So they're at 12,000, 5,000, 8 days to go. So you can check it out, definitely. It's a unique, epic, kind of hard science fiction role-playing game system in the year 2271, where humanity's greatest thing is colonizing nearby star systems, and it's the 7 worlds where humanity lives, thrives, and prepares for the next wave of exploration into space. But an unexpected threat comes to humanity, and it's going to be up to a band of heroes to unravel deadly conspiracy and avoid the fall of humanity kind of thing. So, it is another science fiction. It is its own setting. It's made to be an epic setting. That's one of the things. It's taking a lot of sci-fi inspirations from like things like The Expanse or more classic TV series like Battlestar Galactica or Babylon 5. And it's kind of going to be grand episodic RPG campaigns, more like what you would have in Dragonlance sagas. So it's basically story arcs that the players are going to be going through. So this is indeed a campaign. That's the important thing about it. It's a campaign you'll be playing through. 7 PDF-only modules, basically, that you're going to have, and a single 253-page campaign book will take up the main primer of this. Yeah, that's a lot. And they're basing it on some, like, realistic science for how things are working in the system. And they do have a 3-dimensional star map that they will provide you with that you can check out and use to sort of help plan things out. And they're available for GMs, and they have ways of navigating the 3-dimensional star map so that you can kind of tell where your players are going. They do have some 2D ones that you can sort of put out in case you don't want to pull out your laptop or your, or whatever device. Well, it's really for laptop, If you don't want to pull out the laptop and have the 3D one, they do have some 2D ones that you can use to help you out, that you don't have to worry as much about it. And it's got a bunch of, unique rules for space battles, too, that you can check out. So this is an interesting one. It is funded, so if you want to get on it, you don't have to worry about, losing it. It's got 8 days to go, so you can check out the 7 Worlds now for a cool campaign that is available. But we do have a bunch of non-role-playing game Kickstarters, too. So we have QED, Quad Auta Dispartum. It's basically debate against your fellow students in the night and manage your time and resources wisely during the day. It's a resource management and fighting game. It's all about your daily life as students. So in the morning, you listen to professors, you go shopping for whatever you need, like maybe you want some nice underwear, go to the secondhand shop, finance some stuff by maybe donating some blood. And when night comes, it turns into a flurry of discussions with fellow students. Every drink makes theories in question more daring, and the counter theories bolder, and data more increasingly questionable. So it's a very interesting game where you're playing as a university student and you take care of normal, almost on-the-day stuff, and then have that nighttime of basically battling. It's basically you gather resources during the day, which are represented by places you go shopping, money you might get, classes you might go to, and then use those resources for those debates during night. And the winner gets to spend the evening celebrating while their opponent goes home early, rested, ready for revenge the next day. So, yeah. It plays 45 minutes, 2 to 4 players. And this is a little bit of an interesting setting because of the fact that it's, you're playing as basically going to college. And then that split time of college resource management. And then, debates/fights at night. Kind of an interesting little one. So they have 17 days to go. They are about oh god, gotta do numbers now. A sixth of the way funded right now. Okay, sorry. Math in my brain was not working for a little bit. So if you want to check it out, see if you want to throw your funding behind it, you can of course take a look at QED. It's out on Kickstarter now. Let's talk about Kiddie Quest. It's a classic board game without the board, they say. It's a third of the way funded. They only want $1,500, so at $500. 22 days to go. So you're creating your own path and enjoyments with elements of traditional board games, and it's supposed to be a unique playing experience every time. That's the point of it. It's a board game without the board. 2 to 4 players. It is made for 6+, so you can have it with younger audience or with your family. It might be good for. You're creating your own path and game scenarios for unique game experience that might alter every different kind. Path cards are distributed to players, and players alternate laying down paths to create their own unique game path. You don't have to stay on the surface level. You can use a ladder or slide to change surfaces, such as a tabletop to the floor. Multiple paths can be created using crossroad cards. The game space you actually have is limited by your imagination. So, I mean, you could have these multiple levels on the same board, or you could actually have it that you have to kind of fall down to the floor and do some things here. And that's another reason that this might be good for kids, because it might be fun and to do. If you put through and if you put in as the Kickstarter does have some time to go, but if you do put in your information before the 10th, they are guaranteeing they will have it to you for Christmas, because this is for younger people. This might be a stocking stuffer or a little game you want to do with people. So, I mean, definitely might be something to check out. They still have some of their early bird special, which you can get a $14. You can get one of the games, and so yeah, so that's basically it. And you can add adventures with events to change things around. You can go a quest to find home, different things like that. So they have different kind of little animal pet-based storylines that you can check out. And of course, a bunch of adventure cards. So it will be 60 cards. And their stretch goals, if they can reach them, there's additional cards, more paths, more stones, more events. And that's what it is. Their stretch goals are just adding more cards to the entire thing, so make it a bigger game. And each time they hold a stretch goal, it'll be more cards that they'll add to it. So, it's an interesting thing to check out. You might want to see Kiddie Quest now, especially if you have some younger people that you might want to have check out that might be interested in playing this game. It's good for, they say, 6-year-olds or older. All right. Lunara, Age of Kingdoms. So this one is approximately halfway funded with 23 days to go. Earn the favor of young gods through war, trade, worship, in a competitive worker placement miniatures battle strategy game. That's a little mouthful there, though. So yes. So now it is $85 for the base game to pledge for. You can pledge $2 if you're a retailer, to get start carrying it, or $1 if you just want access to the, you know, some information for it. But $85, which includes the base game, a world map, 70 miniatures, 6 kingdom maps, 108 upgrade titles, 42 worker titles, 60 agenda cards, 85 spell cards, 20 event cards, 10 tarot cards, 100 unit cards, 18 custom dice, 240 resource tokens, and probably more, which would be assuming stuff that if it gets funded and needs more, if it earns some stretch goals. So, yes. Whew. So you're going to choose your kingdom. There are 6 kingdoms to choose from, and each of the kingdom has their own unique units, abilities, that will help you determine your ability to battle and gather resources against your opponents. And of course, yes, you'll be choosing... It's going to be some combining that resource management with some miniatures battle, because you'll be creating a bunch of units that you can use to battle against each other. And there's plenty of subtleties in the game, and has 3 major components: the kingdom management, where you're managing your kingdom; the map management, where you're managing your basically war efforts, your creation of your army; and social interaction, which is of course making deals, signing trade agreements with your opponents / other players, and trying to put yourself out on the top of this interaction. And it's now, they aren't fully painted, but it is plastic miniatures that they're using. So they have 70 fully like well-made plastic miniatures that you can check out as part of the game. So yeah, and they do have a good number of stretch goals that they're planning out. So if you do support them, you can get a lot of the stretch goals eventually, hopefully. Whew. So, yep. It's out now, and they do have an RPG kind of thing that's going to be going along with it, a lot of other information. So if... Oh, Dreamscape Lunara RPG, you can actually add it in as a bonus if you do want to support them, if you want a copy of it for $30. Let's move on to Brass Empire. New Cantan expansions and original reprint. So it's a reprinting of the Brass Empire, plus it's getting Brass Empire New Cantan. It's expansion to it. It's a corporate empire and play. Build a corporate empire and play through an epic story-driven campaign in a steampunk deck builder game. So it is 1 to 6 players. They want you 10 plus, 60 to 90 minutes. New Cantan is the first expansion of it in this kind of card building game of corporate espionage. The main game, you're supposed to be able to learn it just a few minutes, but has amount of depth and different paths to victory that you can take. The expansion focuses on 5 different characters in an epic story of greed, corruption, love, and tragedy. Basically, there's 5 heroes in New Cantan. You do require the original Brass Empire, which you can get the print and play for $5. So, you get the original Brass Empire and the New Campaign expansion with that. You can get the new expansion with $42, or for $79, you get both the original Brass Empire and New Cantan. So those are your kind of follow-up. In the box, it has the 90 campaign cards telling out the story, 5 faction legacy decks, 44 cards each, telling the story of the unique hero and unlocking new gadgets, defense, buildings, and more. So 220 cards, 3 Al Rajaj medical faction cards, 11 starting cards for card 6-player, and 11 starting card 6-player expansion, a campaign score pad, and 20-page full-color rulebook. It is a bunch. And of course, you have the base game, which has everything in it, which you could also get as part of the Kickstarter. And it's all about, of course, building that corporate empire. If you were to play through it fully, they can say it can have up to 12-hour campaign, where you play through a number of different times of game building. And you will deck build between games. So basically, play a game, deck build, continue doing that. You can never destroy any components or chain, and can enjoy playing the campaign again and again as different characters' perspectives, or with different combinations of characters. So there's a lot to playing the game that you can do, and there's got some great replayability. You can, they will have a tabletop simulator out, so you could play it there also. You can at least play the Brass Empire now on Tabletop Simulator. So if you, like me, play some Tabletop Simulator, they do have that available, and they have links to that. You can check it out on their Kickstarter, along with the rulebook. And they do have some stretch goals, but they're waiting for everything to be funded before releasing any information on those, because it is pretty epic that they want. So yeah, they are at 12,000 of a 15,000 funding, so they're pretty close to the funding they need. About 4/5 of the way there, 23 days to go. You can check out the Brass Empire new content expansion now. So we have Kings of War Vanguard. It's a fantasy skirmisher war game. So it's a 28mm tabletop fantasy skirmisher game. It's creating a breed band of fighters, developing your abilities, and fight to the bitter end. It's funded. 10 days to go. So, yay! They're funding the next part of it. So for $85, the pledge, you get a 2-player set, which includes the rulebook, cardboard tokens, power dice and D8s, 3x3 playing mat, 2 starting war bands, and character cards. So they have Night Stalkers and Bastilians as the starting war bands. Whew. Sorry. Along with a number of scenery pieces. 33 scenery pieces that you can get. So you can kind of be the Bastilian warband, which are kind of the humans, or the Night Stalker warband, which are kind of the kind of monstrous creatures. And they're all hard plastic. So yeah, you will get a big pile of stuff. Fences, walls, debris, objective plastic pieces. And you get to choose, though, when you get the core thing, which warband that you get with that, with the $85. So, now granted, the game is basically kind of a skirmisher rules. You're taking elite fighters. You include captains, support units, weapons experts, grunts. It's a lot. It's a miniature system. So, I mean, if you play things like Warhammer, this might be an interesting thing to check out, or other miniature systems, since there are a bunch of miniature systems out now. It's fully compatible with the King of Wars, this one in particular. So, definitely they have their new miniatures of their 2 things, and you can check it out now. If you're a big fan of miniatures games, this might be one that you're interested in. They have fatigue, power dice, group actions, a lot of information on the basic ways that the combat works too. And you can add another warband in if you pledge National Extra 45. So it is just 85 for the base set and one of the warbands, 45 if you want to add the additional one. And they are limiting the number of ones you can get up to 1,000. There are about 1/3 of them for the actual warbands out there. I guess they're only planning the that many to get here, but I'm sure if they hit some of their more stretch goals, they might add to that. They are, as I said, close to their first stretch goal of 90,000. So, it's already funded. So, we have Punk Optlik, V-Reich faction. A new faction for the 30mm scale war game. It features skirmishes between gangs of a pimp and lethal post-apocalyptic world. Whew. So, this one, it is funded. 7 days to go. They have unlocked a few stretch goals. So, this is... Bad Roll Games is a small company, and they basically been working on for more than 3 euros the addictive tabletop game Punkopolis. And this is basically putting out highly detailed miniatures for 4 factions. Gangers, Muddards, Junkers, and Black Blood Children. Whew! And they have basically crowdfunded some stuff before. It's a miniatures game, just like the last one. It's made to be post-apocalyptic, battling it out between these gangs. And they're crowdfunding to get a bunch of these things out that you can chop. The V-Reich is basically just... let's not talk about that one. Let's not go into the depths about that one. Sorry. But no, you can get the 6 miniatures of the V-Reich. It's basically another kind of band as part of it. That's basically what you're getting. a faction to this entire thing. Whew, sorry. But I'm not as big on, I'm not as knowledgeable about miniatures games, so apologize if I'm missing some things on these miniatures games. But if you are a fan of miniatures games, this might be one to check out now. Whew. Sorry. Run low on steam here, guys. Okay. Gobbling Goblins. It's an eat-a-thon card game. Defeat your opponents, becoming the greediest goblins in a sneaky battle for the grossest gourmet food. Yes. So for 2 to 12 players, we defeat my opponents by basically eating the most gross gourmet food. So it's a bit of strategy, a bit of gross, and a bit of a chuckle. As you know, like, you're all over this like a goblin over a hot bucket of slime, they say. 2 to 12 players, as I said, 20 to 30 minutes of playing. 8 to 80 ages, they say. So if you're a 90-year-old, they don't recommend this for you. I know they're doing that. They like to do those upper ages for kind of a joke, but still. So it's got some. It's family friendly, a little gross, strategic. In the box, you get 12 goblin cards that you can sort of be with. Each goblin having its own abilities. 48 different gross food cards, which could be like slugs, various like various other terrible things. 3 yummy biscuit cards, 17 yucky action cards, and 11 sneaky distraction cards. And you're placing the game, you pick from the 12 goblins, each with their own loves, hates, and special abilities. So basically they love and things, hate other kinds of things. You like to eat disgusting things. Sets and colors, you pick a play a card, pick up a card mechanic is what it's doing. So as you play like distractions, actions, food cards. Instructions are downloadable now. It's a little family kind of fun game, kind of little gross kind of thing. So this might be up your alley for checking it out. You can get it now, of course. It's on Kickstarter. It's about it's a little over halfway funded. 18 days to go. Interesting one. If you're interested in a little bit of like that kind of gross out factor, this might be for you. So then we have, finally, the last one today, Lockwood Asylum, a survival deck building game. It's a horror deck building game where you build the opponent's deck. You gather allies, fight monsters, stay alive. It's all about this lakeshore asylum where there's strange things, horrible stuff going on, like bodies flayed in the 40s, missing patients in the 70s where it was finally closed, all kinds of stories. And Dr. Lockwood took over administration. Nobody had any reason to be concerned. He was analytical, precise, driven, the perfect person for the job. And then the tome was found, and the experiments began. So it's for 2 to 5 players. It is, again, a competitive survival horror deck-building game. You allow your players to build not only your own deck, but the decks of your opponents. Each time a player purchases a monster or a horror card, that goes into a player area or room of the player to their left. So you can purchase monsters and horror cards and give it to your opponents. Any ally cards you purchase go into your room, basically your deck, where they help to defend against these monsters and horrors. I'm almost done, then I can help you out. What?
What does?
I'm in the middle of recording right now. I can't stop I can't stop. You have to wait. Just wait a minute, and I can talk to you. Okay? At the end of the turn, the allies, monsters, and horrors in the room battle it out. Excess damage goes to the player's health. When they're reduced to 0, they're eliminated from the game, and the last player standing claims victory. Pretty simple. They have the basic layout with rooms, cards, and all that stuff that you can check out. Contents, of course, are starter deck cards, ally cards, horror cards, monster cards, health trackers, and reminder cards for a total of 161 cards. They have funded it. They have hit their first 2 stretch goals. They have funded it they're on their way to 10,000, which is their next stretch goal. 19 days to go, which they've added horror cards to it. They'll add more horror cards. An expansion if they hit 12,000 cards, or $12,000, and more as they go up higher. So, yep. They do mention that there's some shipping to it. So, you just stay right there for a couple more minutes. You can pet the stream cat. I mean, Damien. So, okay. So, that's it for our Kickstarter corner for today. Excellent. We've finished up with what we needed to talk about. I'm hoping everybody has a great day for the rest of the day. Just sit down there. Don't get on camera, okay?
Okay.
Alright. Just pet the cat some more. We got interrupted by Stream Niece at the end of the stream, so we did pretty good here for the period of time we've been on, I have to say. But we will be discussing some of these topics and talking about some of these Kickstarters on Discussing Tabletop this Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. In the comments of this video, you can leave questions for that if you wish to. You can also tweet Joe or Worm. They'll listen to it. You can email me at discussingtabletop@yahoo.com. All of these are ways that if you have questions about any of these games, comments you want to say about them, anything you want to talk about these games more, please just leave it. If you know of any other interesting games that maybe I haven't reached that were coming out this week, you can also leave it in the description. I can talk about it next week to add it. Aurora! I want you to sit down nicely. You're doing bad stuff now. You want to be a good girl, don't you? Pet Damon some more.
Look, I'm on.
You are on camera, yes. But you're supposed to be good on camera. You're being naughty on camera. I'm very disappointed in you. I'm very unhappy now. Sorry, she's being adorable, but she's also being naughty. What was I saying? So yeah, if you have any other kind of games, I'll talk about them next week on Gathering the Roll. If I missed anything, I try to pick up everything I can, but there's a lot of games and stuff always coming out, so might have missed it. So of course, I'm thinking I will be back later on today, if we're talking about streams and stuff, for some gaming with Winter Bear, because my normal role-playing was, of course, canceled. And we will be talking about doing some other gaming. Tomorrow's RPG Wednesday with our new changed format. I'll be doing some Fallout in the morning, and the rest of the normal stuff in the evening, so I can split those up. And let's see what else is going on. I will be, of course, putting this up later on today on my YouTube if you missed any of it and if you want to see everything. Otherwise, I hope everyone's having a great day, has a great rest of the day. I hope you can join me later. I hope you can check out my updated kind of page on Twitch if you were there to see all the little things I've done to change things around. As you can see, if you send the little bits of information, if you send bits at me, they do some interesting things for what I say, and tips do some interesting. Tips are pets of the stream cat. Bits are you hitting me with a gigantic natural one. So, I've changed some things around to make it a little more interesting and clever and fun. So enjoy some changes on the channel here, and I hope you join me next time I'm back on stream. So have a great day. See you later.